My name is Clara Finn, and I am 29 years old. I live in Amberwood, a small yet lively town where everyone's in each other's business. You know the type? Neighbors borrowing sugar, kids playing in the streets, and coffee shop gossip traveling faster than the morning breeze. I work as a software developer at a mid-sized tech company that, to be honest, has seen better days. The atmosphere is a mix of camaraderie and competition, but lately, the latter has been a bit overwhelming. At first glance, I seem like any other diligent worker bee. I take pride in my job, staying late to ensure that my projects are finished on time. However, I often find myself gritting my teeth in frustration, especially when it comes to my coworker, Vanessa. The moment she joined our team, it felt like a dark cloud swept over my desk. Vanessa was the type that genuinely seemed more interested in taking long breaks than working. I would find her door shut, her head tilted back against her chair, drowning in blissful dreams while I struggled to fill in the gaps she left behind. It baffled me how someone could be so careless. I had often observed her lazily flicking her mouse, playing solitaire while our projects piled up. With every passing day, my discontent grew. My work ethic clashed violently with her lethargy, creating an uneasy tension. I felt like I was shouldering the weight while she merely coasted through her days, napping or indulging in her card games. I had been quiet long enough, and it was high time that someone sent her a message, a little wake-up call that would hopefully shake her from this comfortable stupor. One day, I decided enough was enough. I had learned a little about hexadecimal editing during my studies, and an idea formed in my mind, a plan that was so deliciously malicious, I could hardly contain my excitement. I would mess with her beloved solitaire game. After all, what kind of havoc could it cause? So I slipped away to my desk, my fingers dancing over the keyboard as I opened the solitaire, exe file in a hexadecimal editor. I was careful, methodical. I identified a section in the middle and blanked it out. A thrill coursed through me as I imagined her bewilderment when her computer crashed repeatedly. I then went a step further. With a little bit of tinkering, I reset my system date and time to match that of the rest of the installed Windows files, masking my handiwork so it would seem completely innocuous. Then, with great care and anticipation, I watched as my friend Sam, who shared my disdain for Vanessa's slacking, loaded the modified file onto Vanessa's computer. If I had felt thrilled before, I was practically vibrating with anticipation now. It was the perfect crime, or so I believed. The following day began as any other. The sun streamed through the office windows, coffee brewed its energizing aroma, and I settled myself at my desk, keeping an eye on Vanessa's corner of the room. When the clock struck 10, I felt a thrill rush through me as I noticed her saunter toward her workspace, blissfully unaware of the turmoil that awaited her. I glanced at Sam, who gave me an encouraging nod. It felt as though we were both in on some grand act of subterfuge. I couldn't wait to see the look on her face when her precious game betrayed her. The first crash was swift, and soon after, I could hear her delightful frustration as she called out to Mike, our boss. "Mike, my computer keeps crashing. Can you help me?" Mike, bless his heart, rushed over, filled with concern. I watched from my desk as he attempted to figure out the issue. The irony was not lost on me. Here was Vanessa, once so carefree in her negligence, now at the mercy of her own computer, the very device that kept crashing against her inertia. Hours passed, and the sound of frustrated mutterings reached my ears. Vanessa had turned into quite the tragic figure, turning every crash into an opera of despair. "What am I going to tell the manager? I am up against a deadline," she lamented. The irony of it delighted me. She had managed to dodge her responsibility for so long, and now punishment had found her, and it was all thanks to little old me. But as the day wore on, I sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The excitement that had once buoyed my spirits began to sink. It turned out that the very chaos I had intended for Vanessa was starting to extend beyond her. With every call for help she made to Mike, the situation spiraled further out of control. Each time Mike tried to rectify the issue, the world as I knew it started to tilt dangerously. I had inadvertently drawn the spotlight to myself, and suddenly I was swept up in a whirlwind of unintended consequences. "Clara, have you had any problems with your computer today?" Mike suddenly turned his attention toward me. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks as I stammered out, "No, I am working just fine, thank you." My heart raced. I hoped no one could sense any deception in my voice. Little did they know that just moments ago, I had orchestrated a digital disturbance worthy of a blockbuster movie. Days turned into a week, and Vanessa's desk had become a center of chaos. Her computer crashed time and again, while Mike invested countless hours trying to diagnose the issue. In meetings, I felt the tension thickening the air as Mike began to question whether he had made a mistake hiring her. Though I had initially felt elation, I soon began to regret my actions. It seemed that the fallout from my petty revenge had rippled outward like a stone cast into a pond, endangering not just Vanessa but all of us. One day, as I sat staring at the code in front of me, I felt a heavy sense of guilt wash over me. I could hear Vanessa on the phone with the IT department, desperately pleading for someone to fix her computer. "It is like it has a mind of its own. I promise I am not doing anything. Please help me," she wailed. In that moment, I realized that I had gone too far. I had not just targeted a coworker. I had unleashed chaos in a way that threatened to ruin my entire working environment. It became clear that I needed to undo the chaos I had created. There was still time, and I was determined to fix things. I had underestimated the repercussions of my actions, and while it had felt empowering at first, that empowerment had twisted into a knot of anxiety gripping my chest. I needed to confess. Gathering my courage, I decided to speak to Mike. My heart raced with every step toward his office, and I rehearsed the words endlessly in my mind. Standing nervously outside, I finally knocked on the door. "Mike, do you have a moment?" The warmth in his eyes faded. "Clara, what have you done? I need answers." Those words struck me like an arrow to the heart. I took a deep breath, prepared to lay everything bare. I messed with Vanessa's solitaire game. I thought I could teach her a lesson, but I realize now it has become too much. I never intended for it to escalate like this. A silence reigned for what felt like an eternity. Then, Mike sighed deeply, rubbing his temple. "Clara, I appreciate your honesty, but the disruption in the office has impacted everyone. You need to help fix this. I do not want to lose anyone over this." That simple command reignited a blaze of determination within me. I was not going to back down. That week, I stayed late and worked hard to repair the damage, diving deep into the code to clean up the mess I had made. Along the way, I enlisted the help of Sam, who had been helped inadvertently by the chaos I created. Together, we patched things up, working silently through countless nights, determined to undo my reckless revenge. It would take all my effort, but I could not let this rest. After days of relentless work, I finally felt ready to face Vanessa. "Hey, can we talk?" I asked cautiously as I approached her desk. She looked up, eyes wide with surprise. The remnants of her earlier frustration still lingered in her expression, possibly a hint of mistrust. "What is it, Clara?" she asked, brimming with suspicion but too curious to dismiss me. "I want to apologize. I messed with your computer to get back at you for not pulling your weight," I admitted, my stomach sinking as the truth spilled out. "I never thought it would come to this." "I understand now that it was a cowardly move." She blinked, clearly taken aback. There was no anger in her eyes, only confusion. "So that is why my computer has been crashing? I thought I was cursed. I knew it was crashing, but I had no clue why." At that moment, I began to sense something shifting between us. Perhaps, just perhaps, this encounter could lead to reconciliation. "I want to make things right," I began, attempting to gauge her reaction. "I can help you fix the problems." "I am so sorry." Gradually, Vanessa's expression softened. "You know, I have been allowing my habits to slip. I have thought about that. I will admit, I took my position for granted, and I see how that affected the team." The words hung in the air, powerful and heavy. We stood there, absorbing the implications of our respective contributions to the turmoil in our workplace. Something about that moment shifted the trajectory of my day. In embarking on this path together, we found common ground. We rebuilt strained bridges instead of burning them down. We worked together through the failing systems, sharing accomplishments and setbacks alike. In the process, our friendship grew. It was not the journey I had set out for originally, but it illuminated a truth I had overlooked. Working together bore fruit, and slowly but surely, the chaos subsided. In the wake of that tempestuous time, a new normal emerged in our office. I no longer felt shackled by resentment or guilt. Instead, I stepped into my own strength, having learned that true power lies not in revenge, but in creating resolutions and understanding. The cracks in our team mended, and we evolved into a more cohesive unit. As for Vanessa, her lackadaisical habits gradually transformed into a work ethic that not only benefited her but inspired those around her. I often reflected on how redirection can lead to unexpected growth, and in taking a leap of reconciliation, I grew in ways I could never have imagined. And then, in a delightful turn of events, the manager asked me to lead a new project with Vanessa as my partner. I could not believe it, but perhaps the universe had a sense of humor. Who would have thought that a game of solitaire would lead to friendship? As we sat together, going over project plans and building off one another's strengths, I took a moment to remember the chaos that kicked it all off. In its own unpredictable way, my attempt at revenge had led not to destruction, but to a rebirth of sorts. The redemption in this story was not merely in repairing my relationship with Vanessa, but in transforming my approach to challenges. Isn't it ironic, I thought? What I deemed an inescapable downfall had turned into a stepping stone toward something greater. When life throws you into chaos, there is often a lesson hiding beneath the debris. By destroying the tension I created and learning to forge connections through understanding and teamwork, I graduated from mere survival into thriving. In the end, the choice was clear: to forgive and grow, or to remain trapped in a cycle of bitterness forever. I chose growth. Through that choice, I found not only peace in my heart, but a newfound strength to take on whatever life would throw my way next.